95% of what we do in schools works. That's what the meta-analysis tells us. 95% of the things that we do in our classrooms works. What's up, guys? Dave Schmittou here. Super excited to be sharing this short video with you, just to give you some of my thoughts regarding student conferencing, feedback, and how to help students grow. You know, in the recent course being put out right now by the Teach Better team, Ray Hewart, the queen of feedback, gives lots of great practical advice. And I get to join her for a couple of videos at the end of each module. And we talk through some pretty interesting, important, sometimes deep conversations about the power of feedback and why student conferencing is so important and such a critical tool to have in your toolbox as an educator. You know, I could go deep and we could talk about the work of John Hattie and his huge meta-analysis that many of us have seen on Pinterest boards and Teacher Pay Teacher and all over social media really for the last decade and a half, where he shows us the effect size and the things that really work in schools. And one of the things that I like to remind people is that in schools today, 95% of what we do in schools works. That's what the meta-analysis tells us. 95% of the things that we do in our classrooms works, which is amazing. That's an amazing testament to the work that teachers and educators everywhere are doing for kids. You are doing the work that works. But it's also the struggle we face when we try to do things better, when we try to look for ways to really enhance what we do. The fact that 95% of what we're already doing is working, sometimes we struggle to say, but how can I do things even better? And that's also where that work comes into play. If you were to continue to go through and read some of that work, you'd recognize that there are some things that work even better than others. Although 95% works, there are some things that work even better. And if we really focus in and narrow our focus on those things with a bigger effect and a bigger impact, we can do things with a even more profound impact. And feedback for students is one of those things. When we're able to provide explicit and specific feedback, where we focus on the focus and we're really able to dive into what's working and what needs more support, when students are able to understand our messaging and we're able to communicate next steps for kids, we see an amazing impact on student learning and student growth. So what does this look like? What does student conferencing, what does feedback look like? Well, it looks like a lot of different things, to be honest with you. A lot of it depends on your trust and your relationship with individual students, because all feedback is rooted in trust. You know, feedback without the opportunity to improve is simply judgment. So when we're conferencing with students, we're not judging them. We're not just giving them feedback and saying that's how it was. We're also telling them this is what can be. We need to make sure that our students understand that we are there fighting for them and that we are in this with them. They need to understand that we are standing alongside of them as a part of this journey. We need to make sure that they understand that we own just as much responsibility in their learning journey as they do. When we conference with students, we use words like we, not just you. We say, here's where we need to go next. Here are some of the things that we are going to do together. Not simply, you need to do this and you need to do that. As the educators, we are responsible for fostering this amazing community of lifelong learning. When we're providing feedback to people, we need to make sure that it's focused on specific goals so that we can monitor progress, we can celebrate milestones and benchmarks. It's not just a got it, don't got it binary thing. We're not just chasing proficiencies, we're chasing the process. All learning is part of a process. You don't believe me? Let me give you a few examples. And we talk through this quite a bit in the course as well, but if you're watching this right now, I want you to imagine one of three scenarios. I want you to take yourself back in time here. And I want you to picture either the moment you became a reader, the moment you learned how to swim, or the moment you fell in love. Choose any one of those three. Reading, swimming, or falling in love. And I want you to find somebody else. Go ahead and pause this if you need to, but go find somebody else. And I want you to take just 30 seconds and describe that moment. Can you do it? In 30 seconds, can you describe a moment? Or in 30 seconds, were you telling a story? Were you describing a moment where mom or dad or somebody used to read you bedtime stories and you remember that first time you were able to pick up a word and then read multiple words strung together and then paragraphs? Maybe you started off with go dog go and then it evolved into the Harry Potter series and Shakespeare, or who knows. When you were learning how to swim, were you thrown into the deep end and then learn how to doggy paddle and then one stroke after another? When you fell in love, well, the right answer is you're still falling in love every day. But the reality is that's the answer to all of those questions. Because unless you can read in every language on the planet Earth, you still have some room to grow in your reading ability. Unless your name is Michael Phelps, you're still somewhere on this process of learning to swim. And the reality is every single thing that we learn belongs somewhere on this continuum, somewhere on this process. When we give feedback to students, our conferencing to students is not good, you got it. Not yay, you mastered it. Because it's not about got it, don't got it, proficient, not proficient. It's where are you in this process? Here's where you are today. Let's celebrate where you are right now. And now what are we going to do to grow even better? So as you dive into student conferencing right now, focusing on celebrations, focusing on goals, focusing on trusting, caring conversations where you're in a partnership and celebrate the process. Because again, this is the work that makes you better. This is the work that matters. 95% of the things you're already doing work, but if you want to work smarter, if you want your kids to continue to grow even more than they ever have before, this is the secret sauce.